Get ready with me while we talk about the red flags that I ignored from my toxic and narcissistic ex. Now, I understand the reason why I am being intentional by saying I ignored these red flags is because I fully saw all of this stuff, but that's the responsibility that I have to take for this relationship, is that I saw it and I still went through with it. Now, I don't say that because I'm judgmental of myself. I'm just making myself aware of what happens when I do ignore the red flags. The first really big red flag that's pretty obvious for most toxic and narcissistic people was just the velocity of the relationship. It moved so incredibly fast. Now again, I recognized how fast it was moving, and even though I knew it probably wasn't right, I was too caught up in the excitement of it all. There really is a level of euphoria with these kind of relationships that's intoxicating. The ultimate way that I knew that it was wrong was because when people tried to point out how fast it was moving, I got really defensive. And then of course my feelings of defensiveness were reinforced by him. He helped put this narrative in my brain that the real issue is that they just had an issue with me being gay. And ultimately, it had absolutely nothing to do with that. They were actually trying to protect me and warn me, but I didn't listen. Look, I'm not saying you can't catch feelings for someone quickly. Ow, that burns. But if someone is about to pick up their life and move 200 miles away from you when they've only known you for a month and have probably only actually spent physical time with you 3 times, that's a red flag. To kind of expand into that, he had moved around every 6 to 8 months between his ex-husband and myself. Now that's one of those things where it's not necessarily a red flag for every single individual, because I know there's a lot of people in my generation that it's not uncommon for them to move around a lot and just experience life. But you need to pay attention to the reasoning for the moves. If it's because everybody else was toxic or there was some dramatic situation in every scenario, that's a little bit of a red flag to that. If it's just because they got better opportunities for a job or there was something going on with a family or, legitimate reasons like that, that's totally different. But if it's drama related with every move, you need to be careful of that. So pretty early on in the relationship, I actually witnessed him cutting off certain friends. I think there was 3 within the first 2 months. And what was crazy about it was there was no mourning period. There was no difficulty to it. These are people that he supposedly knew since high school, and he just cut them off without any care in the world. The reason that's a red flag for me is because that showed me just how easily it was for him to discard people. Now, on the topic of friends as well, the other thing that I noticed was that he would talk about certain people like they were his best friend, and he had known them for years and years and years. I found out he had only known them for a couple of months or less than a year. Now again, sometimes in a single instance or something like that, that's not necessarily a red flag. Sometimes you do meet people that you just instantly connect with. But when I'm talking about this as a pattern, that's when it's a little bit of a red flag. His longest standing friendship that I had witnessed was one person that had been about 3 years. Everyone else that he was actively in contact with, he had not known very long. And again, remember he moved around a lot? So are you starting to see how sometimes these individual red flags by themselves may not necessarily be a huge thing, but when you add them together and you start to create a story, that's where you can probably start to see a lot more of red flags coming together. But again, these people can be really good at giving you some sort of explanation for everything. It really is about patterns of behavior. When I say that drama literally followed this dude everywhere, it didn't matter if it was in his family life. It didn't matter if it was in his friendship world. It didn't matter if it was in his work life. It was constant chaos and constant drama. And the underlying story in every situation, what is this? Was that it was never his fault. He could never do anything wrong. No seeing other people's perspective. He was always the victim. And everything was just this huge reaction, an over response to the situation. Like I'm talking end of the world type of reactions. Now again, am I saying you're not going to have drama in life? No, we have drama. It's part of being human. But all the time? Now I saved the biggest one for last. It actually wasn't a red flag. It had everything to do with me. The biggest thing that I ignored from day one was my gut. Look, if I'm honest with y'all and I'm honest with myself, my gut knew it was wrong. My gut knew it was too fast. It was too soon. I wasn't ready. And I can say that without judging myself I can say that without being mad at myself, and I can say that without blaming him. Because at the end of the day, it's not about judging myself. It's about learning from my mistakes. And that mistake allowed me to ask myself the really hard questions. Why did I do this to myself? Why did I allow this to happen? What is going on with me that allowed me to accept these kind of behaviors from someone? And those were the key questions that really is what prevented me from running into these kind of situations again. Oh, I cut myself. I have always said one of the key aspects to your healing journey is not judging yourself, but treating yourself with more grace than judgment. Remember that healing is a journey and it's not done overnight. Give yourself the time and the space and just keep working on it every single day. You got this.